So the next point, it is the end of the company rule. So after the revolt of 1857, though the revolt was not successful, it was suppressed, but certain consequences was there. The first consequence was end of the company rule. Now the East India Company will there will be an end of the East India Company, and India will be ruled directly by the crown. And certain provisions of this were: first one, like it transferred the power to govern India from East India Company to British Crown. Secondly, that earlier the authorities of India was in the hand of the directors of the company and board of control. Now it will be exercised by the Secretary of the State, and this Secretary of the State will be the member of the British Cabinet. Third point, the Secretary of the State, he will be assisted with 15 members, and 7 of them were to be elected by the court of directors, and rest of the 8 members was to be appointed by the crown. And these will be the people, those who have spent 10 years in the country. Then Secretary of the State salary and allowances, they will be paid from the revenues of the Indians. Fourth point, the fifth point, actual governance was to be carried on, and a governor general will be there, who will be given the title of viceroy. You can underline, Lord Cannon was the first viceroy. Then appointment of the civil services will be made open. So these were some of the provisions of the Government of Indian Act, which was made by the Britishers. Next, it is a Queen Victoria Proclamation. So transfer of powers from East India Company to the British Crown, and certain promises was made by the government. The first one, that they will follow the policy of non-intervention in social and religious matters of the Indians. They will not interfere in any of their matter. They will treat all the subject, Indian and Europeans, equally, education wise also, and no problem will be there in the their selections also, appointments also. Then they will grant a pardon to all those who have taken part in the war, but they will not give the pardon to those who have murdered any of the British Empire. Then they will do their best to increase to develop the industries, and last one, they will promote the public works in India. They will help them for the development of schools, roads, hospitals, etc. The third point, end of the Peshwas and Mughals with the death of the Bahadur Shah Jafar, because he was exiled by the Britishers, and even the Nana Sahib when he was no more. So these both the you can say regions, or both Mughals and Peshwas, they were no more. Dynasty, they came to an end. Next point, it is a relation with princely states. Now during the time of revolt of 1857, many of the prince, they remain loyal to the Britishers. They helped the Britishers instead of helping their own Indians. So they remained loyal. So their loyalty was rewarded by the Britishers, and they give them the permission that they can opted the higher, and the opted higher, the person who will child who will be opted by these people, those who were loyal to the Britishers, they will be given the full respect, and they will be given the kingdom after the death of their father. Now then, it is the policy of divide and rule. What the Britishers, they realized in the revolt of 1857, that was the unity. So they felt that unity is the main cause, that if, until or unless their unity will not be there, or they will not be able to separate themselves, it is difficult for them to rule. Therefore, the first step which they have taken, that was the divide and rule policy. Then racial antagonism, it remained, racial superiority remained there, and the Indians, they were not allowed to travel in the railway compartments, parks, hotels, clubs, etc. Foreign policies, two aims of the Britishers: first, protection of its Indian Empire, and second, expansion of British economy and commercial interest in Asia and Africa. These were the two aims of the Britishers. Then increased racial bitterness. Day by day, racial bitterness, it increased. It has not gone down, and more you can say that in order to insult the Indians, more and more measures they were taken. Then come to the religious changes. The British ruler declared that the policy of non-intervention in the religious affairs, customs, traditions of the Indians. They said that they will not interfere in any of the matter. Then certain changes in the army it was made, like European was increased, British army was increased, Indians they were decreased. Then European troops will be kept at the geographical position, and the Indians they will not be sent there. Then Indians the earlier policy of excluding Indians from the officer corps was strictly maintained, that Indians they will not be given any of the official rank in the army. Then even certain sophisticated weapons and ammunition that will not be kept under the control of the Indian. Discrimination of the on the basis of caste, color, creed, region, religion, that will be practiced during the time of the recruitment. And in order to discourage nationalism, measures such as introduction of caste and community in most of the regiment it was taken. Newspaper, journals, publications, they were kept away from the soldiers so that they should not get any information about what it is going outside their regiments. Then next point, it is the economic exploitation. This point we have done in the previous also. And certain how economic exploitation, because India was turned into a typical colony, and only the thing they wanted was the raw material. Secondly, salaries and allowances of the secretaries of the state and the members of the Indian Council, civil servants, then the military, they will be paid paid from the Indian revenue. Peasants, they were very much tortured by the people, by the British officer. Indigo cultivators, they were also tortured by the British officers. Then rural artisan industries, handicrafts, spinning, weaving, it collapsed. It slowly it was no more. The Indian has to pay heavy interest and dividend on the British capital invested in India. Like they invested in railways, plantations, coal mine, jute mine, shippings, etc. So they said that Britishers told Indians that we have made all these facilities for you. So the capital which is invested by we people in your country, you have to pay the interest for it. Then the rise of the nationalism, the uprising, and the people, those who have taken part, like Rani Lakshmibai, Nana Sahib, Mangal Pandey, Tantia Toppe, these were some of the prominent leaders, those who have participated, and they contributed a lot, and their contribution motivated the people of India. Even their sacrification motivated the people of India. Then widening of the gulf between the Hindus and the Muslim, that was the major motive of the Britishers, that we will divide and then we will rule. First of all, we will create a gulf between, or we will create a distance between these two, and then only we will be able to rule. Otherwise, if the unity will remain like this, then it will be very difficult for them to rule. Now these were some of the consequences. Now children, though these were the some of the consequences, now other thing is that what was the drawbacks? Like it started, revolt was there, participation was there, then what was the drawbacks of this? Now the drawbacks, if we will come, the first one, that the movement did not have a common plan was not common, and one leader was not there. Secondly, number of goals was there, one motive was not there. Then some of the East India Company officers, Lawrence, Nicholson, then these are some of the officers, they were very like people of extraordinary capabilities. They were very like strategic people, and they made certain strategies in order to crush the revolt. Then resources, Britishers, they were having good resources in the terms of men, money, and material, whereas Indians, they were not having these resources. Then movement did not have a nationwide dimension. It was in some of the part of the country. Then some of the rulers of the Indian states and big jamidars, they refused to join the movement. And even some of the sections of the Indian societies like money lenders, big merchants, those who were getting more and more profits from the Britishers, they too remained loyal to the Britishers rather than to the Indians. Then some sections of the educated Indians did not support, because they felt that Britishers, they are correct. So the uprising was to be started on May 31, but due to the Greece cartages, the revolt started before that. Therefore, due to the lack of the planning, the revolt failed. Now, nature of the wars, different historians, they have given the different views about that, but generally we can say that what is the nature, or what is the outcome, that is, it was the first mass uprising in which all sections of the Indian society participated, and second, that it paved the way of the national movement. It gave rise to the national movement. The sacrifications made by the Lakshmi Bai, then Nana Sahib, Mangal Pandey, they helped, or they worked as a source of inspiration to the leaders and people to fight for the independence of India. So finally, the nature of the war was concluded in these 2 points. Now your first chapter, it is over. Just go through the question answers of this chapter. Mark the questions where you are not getting the answers. So after finishing this chapter, we are going to start with the second chapter.